them. And that's exactly what the Palestinians feel. So therefore, we have to be very careful about what they say. Yes, of course, when you're against an enemy, you want to destroy your enemy. That's normal. But doesn't mean basically that's what you it's not your policy. It's something you may be pushed to or towards.
So
But
do you hold that? Did October 7th change that? Because obviously when they went in there into Israel and killed especially the civilians, if they had just gone after military targets, it might be somewhat of a different conversation perhaps. But because they killed so many civilians, doesn't that almost by definition make them a terrorist organization again?
Well, again, this is the problem here, and that's why I don't like to use this word terrorist, because it's so politically loaded. Remember that only the Western countries consider the Hamas as terrorist. The rest of the world doesn't. It's an important point, by the way. If I'm not wrong, the UN never declared the Hamas as terrorist organization, for instance. So this is, and by the way, this is the same thing as the Taliban in Afghanistan. They were not declared as terrorists even by the US, in fact, because they wanted to keep away to the Taliban in Pakistan were considered as terrorists, but not the Taliban in Afghanistan. So we have to be very careful with the use of these words. And in addition to that, to answer your question, we will talk about what happened on the 7th of October. But I think personally that before we make a judgment on the 7th of October, we need first to have an assessment, or let's say a probe by the international community, an independent, objective, and impartial probe into what happened on the 7th of October. Because you will see that the things are not as clear as you may think. The reality of what happened, we see those guys fighting. We see them firing their arms. We see them, but beyond that, that doesn't explain the whole aspect of what happened on that very day. But I will come on this later, if you don't mind. But I just wanted to say that the Hamas, in my view, we should be careful by using the word terrorist, because by qualifying them as terrorists, we exclude every possibility to negotiate. And even the British, I used to be trained in British intelligence in the 80s, and that was during the war in Northern Ireland, and even the British, in fact, at one point they had to negotiate with the terrorists. So we need to be very careful by using these words and saying, well, we don't talk to terrorists.
So and that actually is the case right now, because you have, at least at the government level in the United States, but absolutely authoritatively in Israel, they have, and you see it's actually a stated objective of Netanyahu, the complete and utter eradication of Hamas. So the question is going to be, even if Netanyahu succeeds, and by whatever means that he comes up with in his mind, that they destroy Hamas, I don't know how you physically do that. But then at some point, some entity still has to exist